Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Cameo Carter. And right at the time I'm recording this, the US government is in the middle of a federal shutdown. And one of the biggest issues at the center of it all is healthcare, specifically whether the ACA or Affordable Care Act premium tax credits will be extended or whether they'll expire at the end of this year. Now, these are the credits that make health insurance affordable for millions of families, people who buy their coverage through the ACA marketplace. If your employer covers your insurance, you may not be as aware or see rates changing quite as much, but it is affecting millions of other Americans, small businesses, self employed, or people who are employed by companies who aren't picking up the bulk of their health insurance. These tax credits were expanded during the pandemic to help working families and small business owners keep their insurance. If they expire, premiums could double or even triple next year for many households. And people are just becoming aware of it now because now is the time of open enrollment. October through November, for some people into December, is the time that people are making decisions about their health insurance and what they're going to choose for the upcoming year. And here's the thing. This isn't about politics per se, meaning left or right or wrong. It's really about people. It's about whether parents can keep their kids' asthma inhalers filled, whether a family can afford ADHD medications or follow-ups or therapy visits, or whether that next specialist appointment becomes a financial decision instead of just a medical one. And this has already been a problem. Year over year, the decision about what is medically indicated is influenced by how much it's going to be out of pocket. We, as Americans, didn't ask for this shutdown, and none of us want it. But while Washington argues open enrollment is here and families still have to make decisions. So I wanted to walk through some of the questions that my husband and I go through ourselves every open enrollment season as we're asking these questions, determining which insurance we'll be able to sign up for. The first thing that we look at is our budget and what can our family really afford to pay each month. Health insurance premiums go up every single year. And the piece of the pie that we've got is being divided up more and more as these expenses go up. We also look and see what we spent in the year prior, what kind of medications were needed, what kind of doctor's visits were needed, different studies, labs. And we tally that and look at that all together. And then we look at that in conjunction with what we're expecting in the year to come. Will there be continued medications that are chronic that have already happened and will continue to? Will there be continued visits or studies? I know as I get older, I have a lot more health maintenance, it seems, in terms of making sure I have my mammogram and colonoscopy, and those kinds of studies can really add up. And looking at the specific prescriptions are important too. Looking to see what tier that medication falls on. There are different tiers of insurance, but there's also different tiers that have been determined for medication prescriptions. So that's really important to evaluate as well, because the copays for those medicines will be determined by which tier they fall into. And it's also important to look and see what the monthly premiums cost, but also the deductible, the coinsurance, and what your out-of-pocket maximum is, like the worst case scenario. What would be the most that you would have to pay it if something extreme occurred? So the deductible is the amount that you pay out of pocket before insurance starts helping you with the care. So for instance, if you have a $1,500 deductible, you'll pay the first $1,500 of medical costs yourself before your insurance starts to help you. Coinsurance is another way that you have to pay, and that's the percentage you pay after meeting your deductible. So the first thing is that you're going to have to pay a certain amount, whatever that deductible is. And then once that deductible has been met, what is going to be your shared cost? And that's the coinsurance. So for example, if your plan covers 80%, you'll pay the remaining 20 after that deductible has been met. And that's going to be for each visit, each lab test, every study, until you hit your out-of-pocket maximum. And your out-of-pocket maximum, again, is the most you'll ever have to pay in a year for covered in-network services. Once you hit that number, whether it's $5,000, $8,000, your insurance then covers 100% of that for the rest of the year. So one way to look at it is your deductible is your starting line, your coinsurance is your shared portion along the way, and your out-of-pocket maximum is your worst case scenario. Understanding all three of these as you're evaluating which plan works best for you can help you make smarter choices during that open enrollment period. One thing to think about as these premiums go up, again, these monthly costs, is to think about whether you can afford a higher deductible. Oftentimes, if it's a higher deductible, your monthly charge will be less. And you could consider pairing something like that with paying cash for your visits or your labs or your medications. Many offices, including ours, have transparent pricing. So it's actually required for physicians to say how much things are going to cost. And so if you ask your doctor how much visits are, you can get that price list and determine if paying cash is something that would make sense for you financially in conjunction with a high deductible plan if something were to go very wrong. The same kind of line of thinking can be used for doing a direct patient care model or a concierge type model where you're paying a certain amount each month to your doctor. And those are usually divided up either monthly, quarterly, or yearly. And you have a certain amount of access to your physician with those. And people will sometimes pair that with a high deductible plan. So that they know they can have the access that they want to their doctors without surprise visits needing more cost. If you're on a tight budget, looking at the different tiers and looking at those definitions and how much they are can really help you make a decision on what is going to be doable for you. Whatever you do, make sure you're looking at your medication list, double checking that. And also, you can call your insurance and you can ask if there's going to be any changes to your medicines, if they're going to be placed on a different tier. And this is something that I didn't realize until recently that I could do to call and find out about those medications. We often see that from a doctor's standpoint, that medications our patients have been on come January can change tiers. And that is something that you can actually find out from your insurance if that is going to happen. So that can help you in your decision making. As much as we'd like to, it doesn't feel like we can control Washington from our exam rooms or our kitchen tables, but we can control how we prepare for it to an extent. And the reason I say to an extent is because almost everybody is pretty strapped right now. And so trying to figure out how you're going to come up with enough funds for all the rising costs is difficult and seems impossible. But by looking at these different layers and tiers and options, hopefully you can find something that works better for you and your family. And if this issue frustrates you, and it should, tell your representatives. Healthcare access shouldn't depend on which side of the aisle someone's on or whether the government happens to stay open and want to work out issues for us. Our families deserve stability, and we deserve care that we can count on.